Welcome to the 100X Life Podcast, where we activate people who desire to live the words of Jesus and experience the abundant life he promises. I'm your host, Rob Dayton, and I hope this podcast inspires you to put in the work of following Jesus.
Now the Spirit of the Lord is upon me to bind up the brokenhearted and set the captives free.
Hey, 100X Life, welcome back to the podcast. We are on day 52. Can you believe it? Only 10 more days. Only 10 more days left of the challenge. Man, you have come so far. We are so proud of you. I know that it has been challenging. I know that there have been struggles along the way. Failure, success, and that's the way the 100X process of Jesus works. So congratulations. You're in the gym. We're having fun. And I want to start as we're getting closer to the end here. I'm going to start talking more and more about this, but I'm going to have this invitation for you to become a 100X Life coach. There's so many people who are 100X Life coach. Actually, I got Owen Schwaegerle on the line right here. He's doing some coaching. And if you believe in the 100X Life movement, which is living the words of Jesus, and you believe that that can be a transformative agent of change for our nation, for the kingdom to grow, particularly in this nation, but across the world, if you believe in that, I'm going to invite you to become a 100X Life coach. And it's going to be so simple. All you have to do is get some people to go through a challenge with you, or you can do the challenge or not, or you can get them to go through maybe a Bible study with you, but just get them focused on the commands of Christ. The benefit to you is going to be that you are doubling down, that you are continually keeping your mind focused on the Jesus 100X process of transformation in each of the words of Jesus, working your way towards being a person who reproduces each word because you're living the word and you're practicing automatic behavior to that word. So be looking for that in the podcast. I'm going to continually talk about that. We're going to add some stuff to the website where you can officially become a 100X Life coach. It's going to be awesome. But hey, I got Owen Schwaegerle in the house, and we're going to do Word of Jesus number 6. Do not exalt yourself. I'm pretty stoked for this conversation. I think, Owen, your journey, and you've been on the podcast before, you've done the 100X Life Challenge many times. You're in the game. You've started your own podcast I just heard about, which is pretty amazing. Catch us up. How's this challenge going for you? What do you think are the new things that you're discovering just in the 100X Life Challenge?
Yeah, it's been great. So we're so far into the challenge. It's getting to the point where you wake up, you're sore. Oh, I worked out yesterday. I don't want to work out again today. Do I really have to do this? And the answer is yes, you got to do it. And so I got up this morning, even though I'm sore, I'm tired, and I did my workout and I feel so good afterwards. It's so good to get that thing done first thing in the morning. Eat the frog, get that thing done. And then the rest of the day, you've got this. You can do anything if you start out by doing something really hard in the morning. So the challenge has been great, and it's gotten just automatic in a lot of the habits. So for example, yesterday is a day I hosted one of our listings open on a broker caravan. And in order to get all the agents and brokers to come to your listing, you need to have a treat. You need to have a little bit of a carrot. So I had all these baked goods, cinnamon rolls, scones, muffins that I bought from a local bakery I really love. And it was there, sitting there open on the countertop for 2.5 hours. And I was starving. I was like so hungry, but I looked at it and I was like, nope, I'm not even going to touch it. I don't want to do it. I had no desire for it. I'm like, oh, I do love a good cinnamon roll, but I can't do it. I don't even want to do it at this point. It's become so automatic, and the idea of having sugar didn't really excite me or entice me in any way. So there is definitely really good habits that have formed and are continuing to happen from it.
That is so exciting that you're actually seeing and feeling the results of a transformed mind. And this is the case, is you actually you stop having a craving for sugar because your mind is getting around the fact that it's healthier not to engage in that. Sugar is a never-ending, insatiable desire that requires increasing amounts of it to get the same high, so to speak. And I think it's interesting. I think that actually is a sign for when something is actually bad for you. If you're doing it and it's never satisfying enough and you never feel full, you never feel absolutely gratified, I think that might be a sign. So it's awesome to see you do that. The other thing that I'll note that you said that was pretty crazy about your workout this morning, and this was happening to me yesterday, I was feeling this, and I think it's important to recognize is that although the body rebels at the thought of let's go, we're going to do this, I feel like, and I want to know your opinion, well, I feel like the body actually celebrates a bit when you're done. Like the body actually enjoys the fact later, but definitely not initially. Is that your experience?
Yeah, it's great. And it's like right around that 45-minute mark, I'm like so excited. Like, yes, I hit it. I did that full 45 minutes of working out, moving my body. And yeah, you start to crave the reward of getting that workout in too. And so that's super rewarding. Just, you got to get to that point where it becomes second nature, it's habit, and you just love doing it. So some other things that I'm really enjoying about the challenge, like with my diet, because like if I was eating like refined grains, I just get hungry again because it's almost as good as sugar. If it's just a bunch of refined grains for breakfast, I was hungry by like 10 a.m. So I've switched it up to have like potatoes and avocado and more protein heavy breakfast. And that satiates me almost till noon. And so I feel like really good switching out some of those refined products for just more whole foods as well.
That is so good. I love that. Just as you're saying that, it went about whole grains. I think it's important to mention, because people might not know this, is that if you're going to buy oats, you need to buy them. They have to be organic because the FDA actually allows Roundup to be sprayed on oats before it's harvested to make it easier to harvest. And I got to tell you, I can't even believe that that's a reality, but it is. So please do your organic goats. If you're going to, we like the steel cut from Costco. They're really easy. And then granola. In fact, maybe I'll ask Nancy if she can drop her granola recipe on the channel, because it's amazing. It tastes sweet, but it's just got some raisins, very natural coconut. It's very awesome. Yeah, so good. I love that hack. That's pretty awesome. Okay, well, how about the guys? I mean, the people on the channel that you're watching and that you're seeing growing, and then also your mom is on that, and to see her light up and get excited about this. What are some of your observations as a 100X Life coach, just seeing other people?
It's so encouraging. I'm so proud of my mom. I saw her on the channel. She's like, hey, I'm out here. She's holding an umbrella. It's raining. And I'm doing my second 45-minute workout of the day. She's doing a walk. And I'm just so proud of her because she's doing it. She's really been committed to the process, the habits. And I've seen really positive, healthy change in her life. And for the guys in the channel I'm with, I'm so happy to see them going through it too and getting to experience the transformation of focusing on the words of Jesus, doing the journaling exercises, and they're not craving sugar as much. Like they've cut it out in their household and they're feeling better, and it's been so rewarding. So I'm just so proud of everyone who's doing it, and whatever variation of the challenge they're doing, as long as they're making their life better and making that conscious effort better to follow Jesus. I'm just so excited to see them see that transformation.
That is really cool. And my experience as well is that when other people transform, I think I get almost more excited about their transformation than my own. Is that kind of what happens to you?
Yeah. And, we went through the master's program, I think it was 2 Fridays ago, where we had our last session, and we were really focusing in on that key mission statement. And you helped me curate and kind of get it to be shorter and sweeter. And what it really boils down to now is influencing others so that they may experience transformation. And that's what I'm really fired up about, is helping other people experience that transformation that I've been able to go through with my own life following Jesus. And I want to see that transformation take place in other people's lives too.
There it is. It's right in your life mission, is that result. So of course you're going to be delighted when you see that transformation. Just another tool for us to get people hooked up to the behaviors of love and the words of Jesus. Pretty cool. Okay. Well, let's you and I tackle this one. Do not exalt yourself. Jesus is at this wedding feast, and at the wedding feast, I think definitely where you sit matters. I don't know about you, Owen, but the wedding feast that I've been to, there is definitely a pecking order. We know where the bride and groom are sitting, and then of course the wedding party is going to be somewhere either with them or next to them. And then it's kind of like front row is people, this family, and then it kind of moves back from there. That's both in the ceremony and in the feast. So Jesus is watching this wedding feast. He's using it as a teaching moment. So this is in Luke 14:8 from the NIV. I'm going to read it, and then I want to get your thoughts just on face value. When someone invites you to a wedding feast, do not take the place of honor, for a person more distinguished than you may have been invited. And then he says, if so, the host who invited both of you will come and say to you, give this person your seat. Then humiliated, you will have to take the place of least importance. But when you're invited, take the lowest place, so that when the host comes, he will say to you, move up to a better place. Then you will be honored in the presence of all the other guests. For all those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. Okay, what are your thoughts? Face value, what are you getting from this?
Yeah, so do not exalt yourself. And I definitely see my life where I've struggled through this and grown a lot through this. Like when I was growing up younger, I thought more highly of myself than I ought to. And I was, pumping myself up, hyping myself up. And I had a view of others that was superficial and like rating other people. So I'm a better person than this person because I do X, Y, and Z. And it was the religiosity of, look at how good I am, how self-righteous I am. And that led to kind of elitism or kind of ethnocentrism. Like, look at me, I'm the best. And other people, they're not that great. This would kind of manifest at the gym when I'm looking at people like, oh, I'm stronger than that guy's weak, like we're comparing to other people in like a negative way. So promoting oneself, I think, is where this can come across in a bad way. And like when I was in college, I was in the political scene. I wanted to run for student government, and my wife was my girlfriend at the time. She was my campaign manager, and she helped us run a campaign where you have to promote yourself. You have to get out there. You have to be at the front of the room giving the speech. It's very political. And my motives and intentions prior to having God's transform my life, it was very much about me and what can these people do for me versus what can I do for them. And so I see a transformation that's taken place through going to that process where, okay, you're in political office, and if you're not in it for the right reasons, you're not going to go as far or be as successful. And so, and even as you climb the ranks, you achieve that goal. I was ASI president at Cal Poly, 20,000 students, organization had $15 million budget. I made it to the top, the pinnacle. And I thought, I've made it. I'm here. Yes. And it was still like empty. I was at the top of the totem pole, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is it? This is all that there is? I'm not transformed. I don't have like a change in my life. Like what was the point of all this self-promoting? What was the point of all this getting myself out there, getting people to know who I was? And I realized it's like, there's more to life than just being at the top, being successful. And this whole concept of putting others before myself, that was something that I'm like, how do I actually do that and live that out? So anyway, I've come a long way, and that was kind of a big part of that journey on how to realize, okay, it's not all about me. How can I serve others?
That's pretty cool, because what you're saying is, and I don't know if I've thought about it in this context, is that when you're, let's put it in the context of the verse, when you're exalting yourself, the result of that process, even when you get exalted, winning a campaign or achieving a certain position of standing, it is ephemeral. It's not a satisfying feeling. It's almost like back to our sugar comment at the beginning. It's like well, I guess we need more now. That could have been your conclusion, right? You could have said, well, I guess I need to be on city council, or I guess I need to be a state congressman, or I guess I need to be a federal congressman. I guess I need to be president. I think that could continue and continue and continue because you're not satiated. You're not actually getting the satisfaction. That's pretty wild. When you see this, Owen, and you see Jesus in plain language talking about this scene at the wedding feast, do you think about it in terms of the actual wedding feast and what was happening or what might happen in a room, as well as what might happen in the kingdom? How do you see that?
It's a great question. He's speaking in these parables that are like a earthly story with a heavenly meaning. And so I think it's both. I think it is the kingdom perspective on how things are going to be. And the way we view it from our earthly lens is, okay, if I promote myself, if I'm successful, if I'm at the front of the room, then I'm seen by man. And that's what it really is like, I'm seen as successful. I get my reward here. Whereas Jesus with his upside down kingdom is like, no, it's totally the opposite. The least is going to be considered the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And so humbling yourself is so important. And there's like so many small examples of this in like a daily life. Like when it's, traffic, I'm going to like speed ahead of people to get to the front of the line. Or if it's like sitting somewhere, I want the view typically, right? Like I want the best seat with the view.
Totally.
And airplanes, like you want the window seat or you want the aisle seat, like you're always in it for yourself to try to get the best thing. And so what I've learned through this experience, and my wife is the best person at this, I know, she's always letting the other people pass her in traffic, or she's letting people cut ahead with the shopping cart in the grocery store, or I'm like, come on, they're beating us. We can't let them beat us. But she is so like humble and selfless and loving and letting others go before her. And I'm like, man, she's getting all kinds of rewards in heaven right now.
That's so cool. And it's so funny as you're even talking about this, I'm feeling super convicted. I'm wondering about the reason I missed my flight at Eagle Airport in Colorado was because I was being humbled, because as you know, I'm totally into first class, man. I want to be upgraded. I want to be first on the airplane. I don't like to wait in the line. Exactly what you're saying. And I had gotten upgraded for both legs that flight. And then I missed the flight. And then I had the middle seat in the back of the bus. I think I got humbled.
Yeah, man. That is funny.
Totally. It sounds like maybe I got humbled. I'm just too focused on this. And then would you say that, what do you think is the kingdom difference of not always jousting for the position? And let me restate just for our listeners kind of where you were going. Like you're looking at, I think I did it just yesterday or the day before. We were coming to a restaurant and I could see there was 3 parties and us, and I just picked up my pace to get to the podium first.
Right.
Or we might do that for the checkout stand, or to get first class on an airplane. Or what do you think is the benefit to us? Because I always think of Jesus having this self-interest behavior. We're actually going to benefit. If you want to be exalted, humble yourself, then you will be exalted. What is the benefit to us by not doing that and by taking more time to, I think in the example you gave, to be present for people?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's like, do not exalt yourself. Don't think of yourself more highly than you ought to. And hey, look, I've got places to go. I got things to do. I'm going to just get to the front because I got to go somewhere, be places. I'm a successful person. I need to be there. That was the mindset that I think we are called to fight against, because if we're taking the word of Jesus here seriously, it's like when we're in that situation, if we're to put others before our own, esteem others higher than ourselves, we need to like let that person get ahead of us and be okay with that. And so the thing that I'm in the gym resisting is exactly that. Like, how do I actually put that person's needs ahead of my own? So at coffee this morning with a guy I'm discipling, and there's this lady a little bit out there kind of like engaged me in conversation, like, hey, do you work at this place in town? You look familiar. I'm like, no, I don't. And instead of like just moving on to try to get out of the conversation, I engaged with her for like a couple minutes and entertained a conversation.
Probably made her day.
It was fun. And it was so great, so it was like uncomfortable because like I didn't really want to do it, but I've been really trying to focus on this word lately. And there's this interesting story. So Valentine's Day last week, Camille and I go out to a coffee shop downtown, and there was a homeless guy in the coffee shop, and he smelled so bad. Like it was overpowering. Like we wanted to get out of the coffee shop. Like it was reeking. Like, oh my gosh, this is like really awkward. I don't feel comfortable here. And I just prayed. I was like, Lord, help me to see this guy with love and compassion the way you would see him. And then all of a sudden, the smell went away. It didn't smell like gross. It kind of smelled like fruity or flowers or something. And I was like, okay, God, I prayed for him to help me see and smell, I guess, the way he sees and smells this guy. And so then this guy's kind of in the corner, like no one's talking to him, no one's looking at him. And then as I was going over there, I looked him in the eye and said, hey, how are you doing today? And I engaged, gave him a smile. And I feel like that was one of these moments of like practicing putting an other above myself. And instead of ignoring him, skirting around him, like I normally would do, I engaged with him and gave him my attention, which was a challenge you kind of gave us when you're in the public setting. How do you love bomb people? How do you go out there and just like make people's day or give them a smile? Do something that maybe is, what they needed. Just a little bit of love that day.
Hey, that's precious. Just give. And I would just say, just by way of like, here's what you're dealing with in the area of homelessness, because this is something that I worked on for a little bit more than a decade in my career. If someone has been on the street for it takes about 6 months for them, if they're on the street, to 6 to 9 months for them to really become demonized. And what I mean by that is they're so lonely. They're so absent of love. It's such a strain, a stress on the body that they open themselves up to talking to spirits. And you see it on the street when you see them just talking to themselves, because that's the only love left for them, is that. When we're in that situation where we break through and you're just saying, hey, how you doing? We're breaking through with love. We're acknowledging someone's presence. We're saying, hey, you're important to me in this day. I want to demonstrate that you're important. I'm going to have contact with you. It's super powerful. It doesn't mean that they're going to be completely healed or their situation's going to be resolved, but at the minimum, we are stopping for the one. We're stopping for the least of these. We're actually we're seeing that person that doesn't appear to be very honorable, and we're giving them additional honor. Oh, and this is one of my favorite things that Paul says. I want to share it because you went there. We have to see people different. We have to see everyone different. And some of the hacks we have in 100X Life is we're going to see them as image bearers. We're going to see engagement with them and love of them, loving God. So there's these hacks. And then Paul gives us this hack. And this one has been so meaningful to me. This is in 1 Corinthians 12:23. And he's providing us a personal rubric. In other words, this advice is specifically tailored to you, a member of the body of Christ. And he says, and those members of the body which we deem less honorable. In other words, the members of the body of Christ or pre-Christians, you're in Starbucks, you're in your coffee shop, and the one that you deem in the room as the least honorable, and it's your opinion. You're the one who has the opinion. You're actually deeming them the least. On these, we bestow more abundant honor. So Paul's saying that, hey, you want to live in the upside down kingdom. You want to humble yourself instead of exalt yourself. One that you think is the least of these, honor them the most. And I'll just tell you a story, and it's probably going to mess with me a bit because this is one of the most important stories of my life. There was this woman at SB Hop, and she's passed away now. She actually committed suicide. It's just an awful thing. But for years, I saw her as the least of these. And I was reading Paul's advice, and I was trying to really be love to people. And I saw, okay, well, all the people in the room, I think that she's the least. She's a little overweight. Her mental capacity is not there. She's in this assisted living. And I just said, I'm going to love her. I'm going to give her the most honor of anyone in the room. And that's what I did. I did this for years. She had my cell phone. And her name was Mickey. If Mickey called me and I saw Mickey on my phone, I would leave a meeting. I left a meeting with the mayor one time. I said, I've got to pick this up. Mickey, how are you? What do you need? And she always wanted prayer every single time. She was always doubting herself. And I got to be her light in so many ways. And it didn't end well. The things that were against her led her to try to commit suicide several times. She finally succeeded a year and a half ago. But I got to tell you, Owen, serving Mickey is perhaps the greatest joy of my life and experience. I got so much out of serving her and honoring her. And I'm kind of answering the question I asked you is what's in it for us? And I got more out of it. And I don't know if she was an angel. I kind of think she was. I kept saying, Nancy, I think Mickey's an angel. But I got so much out of that. What are your thoughts on that? And then anywhere else that takes your mind?
Yeah, that's a beautiful story. And I've been thinking about that a lot because I've heard you share that as I've known you for the last several years through the master's program and how that has like ministered to your heart as you've been a light and shared to her through all the challenges she's been through. And it's radical, like stepping out of the meeting with the mayor, that just doesn't make sense from like our worldly, earthly business mindset perspective. And I love that about you, Rob. It was so beautiful. And the challenge that's done for me is like, how can I find those Mickeys out there and like love on the people in our community? Who is it that God has given me to help minister to, shepherd, and to steward and guide on their journey? And so I'm like looking for those opportunities. So your story and what you've been through has been a light to me. And I know to all the other guys that are in the program and everyone else that's been learning from you on this journey. So it is an example. And I think about where there's like the scripture that talks about if you're going to host a dinner party at your house, don't invite all your friends and the super wealthy and the well-connected, which that would be easy and fun to do because it'll be a good party. Invite the people who have no way of paying you back. Invite the people that are poor, lame, crippled. And it's like, those would be the people like Mickey where, oh my gosh, they have nothing to like give me or I have nothing to gain from a party like that. And I have yet to do a party like that. I really would want to. That's like one of the things on my list. And it's like, how do you do that? How do you do that safely when you have 2 little kids in your home? Like there's questions we have.
Believe me, at Santa Barbara House of Prayer, we had all our kids. I think Jed, when we started House of Prayer, was he was 9, and we had crazy. It was just completely crazy. We had every single people type you could imagine, and it actually is quite beautiful what happens. So I appreciate that. I would say, on this one, before I say that, tomorrow we're going to have Invite the Poor. So tomorrow we're going to actually talk about that. And nice. You're absolutely right to go to there, Owen, because Jesus actually hinges this one onto that one. In other words, they're related to one another. And I think Invite the Poor is a kingdom hack to loving correctly and not thinking too highly of yourself. Also, reward will be in place for that one. So let's talk about that tomorrow. But I got to tell you, I think I was extremely successful with loving Mickey. There's 2 other people in my life. I'm looking for more of them. I actually was asking Jesus this morning to give me another to love. It benefited me so much, but I still would say on this word, I'm in the gym. I would say I'm still resisting. Yeah. I think that my desire for the best seat always.
Yeah.
I'm still working on this one.
Yeah. And another thought on this is like, I'm in sales, like the business of selling, right? That's what you do to survive. Well, what has kind of changed in my mindset and approach over the years is I'm actually in the service business. It's not about selling, it's about serving people. And as I've taken that approach, it's much more others oriented. And it's like, okay, maybe it doesn't make sense for you to sell your house right now. Actually, after looking at all the numbers in the market, right now would probably not be the right time for you to sell. You should probably stay in your house for a few more years, build some more equity, or maybe this is your forever home. So like actually turning down sales and really serving people, saying, this is not the right thing for you to do at this time. Maybe it's not the right time for you to buy. You need to save more, pay down debt more. And so focusing on their interests, being like putting their needs above our own is what I think has helped us grow our real estate business so much over the last few years as well.
I think that's very powerful. I think that's really practical for people who to practice this word of Jesus, to not exalting yourself, because I think you're right. I think in business, of course, we have a contribution to society. We call that a talent. Money is simply a way of trading talent for talent. But if we see the end goal as the sale or the getting the client or getting the fee or whatever it is, if that is the thing that's preeminent for us as our target and goal, we will fall trap to exalting ourselves. Versus, I love your approach, and this is what I do in my business too, is I want to serve you. I want to serve you so well, because in my strategic culture business, I'm one of the more high-end in terms of cost consultants out there. Small cities generally don't hire me because I'm too expensive. But after I sign a client, the conversation is, hey, I just want you to know I'm on board for you. You need to tell me, and I'll remind them, if you don't feel like you're getting more out of me than you're paying, we have a problem. You've got to feel like I'm serving you. So I'm going to make myself available to you. I'll tell you when that's obnoxious. I'm going to make myself available to you because we're going to move the needle on your culture at your city and your executive team. And that is what I'm here to do. It's not about the money. I'm here to serve. Is that kind of like the same perspective you've taken in real estate?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. You're here to serve. It's not about profit. It's about people. Like that's really ultimately what it's all about. And, I was reading Matthew this morning, getting ready for my discipleship, and it just so happens it hit on the same chapter as this word, do not exalt yourself. And I was just like, oh my gosh, God is so cool how he works and just weaves it together. So I was doing some more research on this specific word, do not exalt yourself. Like, what does Jesus mean? And another scripture I found that was really great was in Luke 18:9-14. And it's Jesus talking about a tax collector and a Pharisee. And basically there's this Pharisee, he's doing a prayer in the temple, like, God, thank you that I'm not like other men, extortionists, unjust adulterers, or even this tax collector over here. And I fast twice a week. I give tithes on all that I earn. And then the tax collector is over in the corner beating his breast and his eyes are downcast. And he's like, Lord, have mercy on me, for I am a sinner. And then, Jesus says, I tell you, this man, when he went down to his house, he was justified. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, but the one who humbles himself will be exalted. And this was me. I was that Pharisee. Like growing up, I was like, oh, I'm so straight-laced. I've never smoked. I've never drank. I was like the kid that was so proud of, look at my laundry list of accomplishments spiritually or in the faith. I've got a clean record. I'm a good Christian on paper, right? But then meanwhile, my heart was in the wrong place, judging others, lusting, condemning, and all the things of Jesus that are deeper, the internal factors. And so that was me. And then it was really Ephesians 2:8-9. For it is by grace you have been saved through faith. And this is not from yourselves. It is the gift of God, not by works, so that no one may boast. Just a reminder that it's all about that grace that God's given us. And our accomplishments are like filthy rags to him. He sees what we do and yes, he wants us to live these righteous lives, not doing sin, avoiding sin. And yet that is not what gets us there. It is the simple, pure grace. And I feel like we can sometimes exalt ourselves in our own minds thinking, I'm so awesome. Look how self-righteous I am. I did this on my own. I don't do these sins. Therefore, look at me.
Totally. We could do that. And in the kingdom, I think there's a really interesting balance we have to strike, because, one of the things that I feel like in my leadership in the kingdom is to bring forth the reality of the Father and how he sees you as wonderful, perfect. He's seeing Jesus, so he's seeing perfection. He sees all your potential. He's excited about when you're exercising your potential and moving forward. So there's this balance between, we want to be able to soak up the Son, so to speak. We want to soak up all his pride and believe in ourselves. And then also with that, instead of elevating ourselves, we're actually humbling ourselves. And much of the things we've talked about, by the way, we see that we're serving, rather than we're taking. We're going to be givers rather than takers. We're going to see the least of these as the ones who are most honorable, and we're going to pay attention. We're going to give them our love. We're going to give them our time. You spilled into tomorrow's word, the people who are not as fortunate, they couldn't possibly give us anything back. We're going to have them, and we're going to give to them. So it's that balance of really soaking in the love of the Father so we can love other people. I think the most powerful word in the statement, love your neighbor as yourself, is the word as. How much do you love yourself? So we've got to love ourselves. And then also we've got to be humble. And one of the greatest statements, and actually I think this is Rick Warren that makes this in Purpose Driven Life, is humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. And I think in the church, we have this false humility that says, I'm only a dishwasher, I'm only this. And that's not humility. Humility is, this is who I am, this is who God's created me, this is what's real and authentic. And also, I'm going to put you first.
Yeah, it's a challenge. And I definitely still in the gym in this, resisting. I feel like now that I know that, just the terminology of being in the gym, when I'm outside interacting with people at the grocery store or in life, I'm looking for the opportunity. Okay, here I go. All right, I'm not that great. I'm doing like the 3-pound weights right now. I'm like just starting on this little muscle, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to engage. I'm going to look at the guy, smile. I'm going to do the thing. And so it's getting better and easier. And I want it to be more second nature, where I'm like esteeming other people. And I don't do it all the time very well. One area I do what I'd say better is like giving people like praise in public. For example, on our real estate team, when someone succeeds and does something great, we have team meetings every week, and I acknowledge them for their success, their achievement. We clap, and we've got a victory bell. So they ring the bell, and we lift people up for their wins, and we encourage people in those types of ways. And when I'm meeting people for the first time, introducing friends, I do like to share something really cool about my friend that I'm introducing. Like, oh, this person's great.
That.
You got to hear about them. They went on this great trip, or did this mission trip, or they started a business and did this thing. And I like to connect people and genuinely build them up as I'm connecting them. So that way they know who they're meeting, and there's something cool they can talk about too.
I think that is so important, to be able to, when you introduce someone, to tell the person that you're introducing them to why it is that you love and appreciate that person. That is a glorious way of really building someone up. And then I'll just say, because you talked about the grocery store and you're flexing your muscle in the grocery store, I'll just point out once again that I think the grocery store is the playground. It is the gym of the kingdom. It's the place where we can practice almost any word of Jesus. And you just have to be present. You just have to see the people going by you. You just have to open your eyes to the opportunity. It's quite the gym. So I'm glad that you got that up. Okay, well, let's talk about the lifestyle prompts, and perhaps there's more as we talk about that you want to share, but I'll just share the first one and get your thoughts. This is how we know that we're following this word. You actively look for opportunities to put people first and elevate them.
Yeah, so that's the example of lifting people up in team meetings, celebrating wins, sharing appreciation for people that's genuine. Like, I really appreciate that you did this. Thank you. Sending thank you cards is like just one way to show gratitude and appreciation for people. Yeah, so those are some of the ways I do live that one out.
That's cool. I think you can elevate people just by giving them your attention. And we've talked a little bit about this. And one of my hacks is to hold people's gaze, like look at them, be amazed by who you are seeing. And
Right.
I like to ask Holy Spirit, so what is it that you love about this person so much? Can you give me some intel so I can just zing it at them? So that's a good one. Okay, second one, what are your thoughts? You tend to see those least as the most important people to honor.
Working on that one. That's the gym. That's the coffee shop experience. Okay, how do I love this person? I wouldn't talk to this person normally. They're not kind of my ideal conversation in the day, but putting them above your own, like giving them the time, giving them the attention, just like you said. And so that is where I'm in the gym right now.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I appreciate that honesty. And I just want to echo, maybe for a different reason. I think I'm definitely in the gym and the resisting for this, making sure that I put others first, not always rushing to get the best spot, because I just see that pattern in my own life, always wanting the best, which is a talent. I mean, it's a talent because I want the best for people like you who I serve, but we can't spend it all on us. So really good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Owen, how these journal prompts have affected you in the past, if you know. The first one is ask Holy Spirit to give you more insights into why taking the lowest place actually elevates us in the kingdom. Did you get any intel on that?
Yeah. So I was journaling on that, and God was telling me I've come a long way in that, no longer exalting myself, but humbling myself. And I used to be in it just for me. And so it's that upside down kingdom again. Like, how do you flip it on its head? And I'm still in the midst of it, man. I really enjoy these prompts, and it's like, oh my gosh, I've got so much more work to do.
And do you have any feeling or inkling as to why doing such a thing would elevate us? It would actually be in our favor. It would actually be the abundant life. Because remember, in the words of Jesus, we're trying to practice the abundant life. That's what we want. So I'm always curious about people. Why do you think this one, lessening ourselves and putting others first, is actually a way to get a better life?
I'd say what we're looking at is the life of Jesus. Like he's the most perfect example of this. And I think of this verse in Philippians 2:8 says, Jesus humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. And we're trying to become just like Jesus because we know that's the most successful, most abundant life out there. So if we can do that, well then, hey, we know we're doing a good job. And I mean, right now, I'm not doing that. Like, to the point of death, like really putting others above yourself. Like, Jesus literally didn't have to go through this. It says he was obedient. He was obedient to the Father. He did what the Father told him to do. And, there's pain. There was sacrifice. He didn't want to do it, and he did. And it turned out to be the most rewarding thing in the history of the universe, because now we all get to be in heaven and celebrate with Jesus. And it is such a reward.
There it is. So you're painting this picture that Jesus actually had a reward in his putting us first and actually dying for us. I'm thinking, have salt. He was the salvation. He was the preservative for us. And so he gets the prize. The prize is us. So the joy set before him, the joy being us, he endured the cross. And so I think what you're saying is that there's something similar. It may not be on the same scale, but there is a prize for us, a kingdom prize, when we are salt to others, when we put them first, when we work to preserve them, when we work to honor them and elevate them over us.
Yes, exactly. Like, that's the goal, is to strive to do that. And as we do, we become more like Christ and more loving to others. What's more radical than being the guy who's doing that, like putting those people ahead of everybody else, giving the attention to the people who don't deserve it or would be shunned at by society.
That's cool. And Jesus' words, if we're doing that, we are going to be elevated. So there is a self-interest desire. Not sure what that looks like. If you have an opinion on what that might look like, so share that on the Telegram channel.
Yeah.
Or you can email me at robdayton@100xlife.com. The last prompt, I think, is one of my favorites. Can you think of a person in your life that represents the least Ask the Father to describe what he sees in that person. Journal in the first person from him. You're trying to actually get a picture of what Jesus is seeing, what the Father's seeing in that person. If you can get a picture of what the Father's seeing, it's going to make you loving, preserving, investing, spending time with that person. It's going to make that so much easier.
Yeah, I did that. I got an actual person in my mind that I'm like, oh, yeah, I probably should elevate that person. And I think that sometimes we become so selfish. And this is where I think the whole thing comes down to is we're self-absorbed. I'm living my life for me. I don't have time to waste giving this person my time for a call, for lunch, for anything. It's like there's no value in this for me. I don't get anything out of interacting in this relationship. And that's the wrong mindset and approach to have, because if I truly see them as an image bearer and a person who has value and worth, then why am I holding back my time from investing in somebody?
There you go. So that really becomes the motivator and maybe the accelerant of how we can serve people better. It's how we perceive them. It's kind of back to regulate how you see. It's funny how all these words kind of fit together.
Yes.
And how we practice life. Okay, Owen, thank you so much. Thanks for coming on the podcast twice and for being a great example for this. I know that you and I are both in the gym still on this one. We're
totally
really working out on this one.
Yes.
But hopefully through our example of struggling, people will be inspired and helped today.
Yes.
Okay, 100X Lifers, we will see you tomorrow. If you believe in the 100X Life movement, please follow and invite a friend by sharing this podcast. The 100X Life movement can also be found on Instagram and Facebook, and also at 100xlife.com. The 100X Life podcast was produced by Jenna D of Jenna D Services with music by Ryan Ellis.
Was lost, but you found me here, and your fire burns inside. It will not disappear, because the Spirit